Hello and welcome back to another episode of Techie Tuesday. Can plastic roads help save the planet? Engineer Toby McCartney is persuading councils in order to use waste plastics as their roads. All the roads in the world are made using barrels and barrels of oil. Wouldn't it be better to use waste plastics for our roads? Cumbria is the first local council in the UK in order to use waste plastic as their own road. It's just a start-up at the moment, but because it's been used over and over again, it makes the roads last a lot longer. Save hiring a plane and skydiving from a drone? The age of drones is getting closer and closer, and we think getting out deliveries by a tiny robot is the best we can do. How about getting a drone where you can lift yourself into the air and jump out of the sky? Much better than chartering a plane, right? Skydiver Ingus gets carried 330 meters into the air and jumps off it. Imagine that popping into your local supermarket by a drone. Just make sure you have your carrier bags with you. Pes Guacamole. Pes is the creator of one of the most viewed stop-motion films of all time. He has a knack for transforming familiar objects through stop-motion animation. It's the shortest film ever to ever get an Oscar, and the way he uses the baseball for an onion is humorous. You can also check out their other films at pesfilms.com. Fidget spinners may be the weird fad of the summer, but they are quite simple. The multi-use fidget cubes exist on a higher plane of abstraction, but all 6 sides of the cube are not the same. There's a worry stone, which is your thumbprint pushed into the cube, a joystick like a PS controller or Xbox, a dial which you can turn round and round, a switch perfect if someone just wants to hear the click, the pen click, which is just like bubble wrap, my favourite, and the roller, perfect for stress relief. If you want to fidget, especially when you're in a meeting or when you're just sitting down, this is the perfect thing for you.
Now, if you're anything like my mom, then you're a big fan of the Assassin's Creed games. And you'll be happy to know we have a little bit of information on the newest edition. Now, we have to be cautious about what we believe here, but it's very likely that this photo, posted on the Assassin's Creed subreddit by a throwaway account, is legit, after Eurogamer got confirmation from 3 separate sources. The screenshot does look like it matches up with other rumours floating around that the game will be set in ancient Egypt and have a massive open world that can be explored using boats. The picture also matches up with this now deleted photo posted a few months ago. If you look at the top right of the screen, you can see that one of the missions is following Shadia to Qanut's villa. And a quick Google search shows that Qanut was a queen of Egypt during the 5th dynasty. Now, with that out of the way, what else do we know about the game? A more recent report from WWG suggests that the final title will be Origins. From a marketing point of view, the name also establishes a fresh new start for the series. It will be much less linear than previous games, and character progression is less tied to the story, which probably means you have something that looks like the leveling and skills progression in Skyrim. The report also goes on to say that the Origins game is huge, and though it is set in Egypt, players will be able to explore beyond this, possibly even to Greece. Of course, when you're talking about exploring in this era, it obviously means that you're going to be going around on boats, which means rumours about it being similar to Black Flag are probably true. Well, what about gameplay? By this point, AC gameplay has become pretty familiar, but with Ubisoft stating that they intend to change the mechanics, we're pretty excited to see what will change. The suggestion that character progression is less tied to the story means a whole new approach to gathering experience, unlocking weapons, and new moves. Also, with the 2 protagonist approach returning from Syndicate, whether players will be able to choose one character or move between the 2 as they play isn't yet known. Now, as gamers, we love to give our opinion on what we want, or did want, from games. So here's our 2 cents. Bugs and glitches. It is an obvious one, but it's what we'd like to see, or not see. Though Assassin's Creed is known for its beautiful visuals, it's also renowned for being riddled with visual and gameplay problems. Unity in particular was criticised for glitchy, borderline frightening character animations. If the rumours that this is the biggest Assassin's Creed game to date are true, it's more important than ever that Ubisoft uses its time well to perfect the finer details and don't let the glitches slip through the cracks. Better combat. Now, Assassin's Creed combat isn't bad, but it's not exactly inspiring or exciting. Despite the fact that you're an assassin, it's easier to just barge into a fight and cut and shoot your way through rather than apply any kind of stealth. Once you are in close combat, you mostly find yourself button mashing or waiting for the right time to counter and get a cool slow-mo finishing move. Being an assassin should feel more urgent and tense in an Assassin's Creed game. quality over quantity. Like I said before, it's been reported that Assassin's Creed Origins is the biggest game to date, and there'll be a much larger focus on exploration. It's even being compared to Skyrim. This is making us both excited and a little bit nervous. More freedom to explore the historical world is great, and we love the idea we can become any kind of assassin we like with the new character progression. What we don't want to see though is a huge explorable world with too few quests to keep us interested, or so many that are repetitive and grinding. A larger map is all well and good as long as it feels necessary. BioWare's once enormously popular series Mass Effect has been put on hiatus following the lukewarm reception to its sequel Andromeda. Kotaku reports that BioWare's Montreal studio, which led the development of Andromeda, has been downsized, but adds that the team will continue to support the multiplayer. He does also imply that none of them have been sacked. They've just been moved around the wider business of EA. It seems the new game is the focus of all BioWare studios, with the main studio in Edmonton leading development. In response to Kotaku's report, BioWare Montreal studio director Yannick Roy said, "Our teams at BioWare and across EA put in tremendous effort bringing Mass Effect Andromeda to players around the world. Even as BioWare continues to focus on the Mass Effect Andromeda community and live service, we are constantly looking at how we're prepared for the new experiences we will create." Mass Effect Andromeda was criticized for some wonky animations and questionable writing, but it still received largely positive reviews. However, it didn't come close to matching the critical success of its predecessors. Now the series is too successful to be killed off completely, and may well be back one day. In fact, earlier this week during an earnings call, EA CEO Andrew Wilson said, "Our expectations for Mass Effect are still strong for the future and the franchise overall." Now, for the game pick of the week, we have Runes: The Forgotten Path. It's a VR adventure by Stormborn Studios set in a fantasy world in which you play as a renegade wizard. You will master the art of spellcasting by drawing rune shapes in the air with your hands to solve puzzles and fight enemies. With the spells and wits, you will try to remember your lost memories and escape oblivion, a prison inside your own mind. Runes will challenge you to puzzles designed specifically for VR, without holding your hand through the process. The game uses a new locomotion system called the Fourth Wall. Essentially, this allows the player to switch from first person to third person while they're walking around. This opens up the game for new ways to approach puzzles and combat with the VR controls. So what exactly is the story behind the game? Well, let's find out.
Legends tell of an ancient golden age at the beginning of time, when the Makers created mankind, giving it the gift of magic. This age lasted for thousands of years of peace and prosperity, but nothing is eternal. The forefathers of mankind had to leave to other dimensions for reasons that just couldn't be explained to their children, and mankind was left on its own. It was then that the priceless gift of the Makers started turning slowly into a curse, as the strongest rune lords that grew power-hungry began becoming tyrants. This was the Second Age, an age of dictatorship, fear, and hatred, and mankind was strong, but was no longer free. The Panopticon had been established, an order that started regulating magic, forcing every mage to practice only one element. The punishment for those who did not respect the law was the Oblivion, an eternal sleep prison of the mind. Oppression lasted for centuries, and it seemed it will never end, but all of a sudden, something mysterious and terrible happened. The Great Cataclysm, the causes of which are still unknown, left behind a scorched world, freeing forces of entropy on the lands of men that brought mankind on the verge of extinction.
The game also comes with its original soundtrack, composed by Lorenzo Vizintin, which you can find on their Kickstarter page, along with prizes for pledges and more info on the game. It's currently 25% funded with over €7,000 of the 30,000 goal, with about 2 weeks left to go. Well, that's it for this week's Techie Tuesdays. Goodbye from me and Gurleen, and we'll see you next week.